I'm going to continue today sharing some slow thoughts to sow into your creative soil. Yesterday on the podcast, I shared the first six, and today I'm going to share another five, all drawn from those first beautiful chapters of Genesis. So in Genesis, the words in those chapters, those early chapters, are like the garden that God planted that he talks of in those chapters. They are so full, so diverse, so rich with revelation, so much that we can find and dig up in there. They're like really the seeds of the entire Bible are found just in these first chapters. And I'm kind of coming at this with a very clear purpose in mind. I've been reminded recently that God is not in a hurry. God is not in a hurry. I don't know if you've noticed. And I believe that if we are going to walk with him, we will not be in a hurry either. I really do. And so continue in this series of slowing down, simplifying, and finding creative grace to produce without sweat. Yeah, in the sense that, like, when Adam was told, be fruitful and multiply, it was a result of the blessing that God had placed upon him and Eve, upon mankind. And then following the curse, it was told, man, anything that you produce from here on in is going to be produced by the sweat of your brow, by your hard work and effort. But in Jesus' name, we have been redeemed from the curse, not for laziness, not for inaction, but for empowered, grace-empowered activity that is rooted in the creative presence of God in our lives. And do feel free to jump over to the blog, just take a look, find the post that is called 5 Slow Thoughts to Sow into Your Creative Soil, and share your thoughts on there if you want to. I would love to hear what you have to say around this subject of slowing down, simplifying, and rediscovering creative grace. So in looking at these things, as I say, we shared 6 thoughts yesterday, and I'm going to share another 5 today. Number 1, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, the fruit yielding tree, after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. After his kind. The plan of God is that all that he created that's capable of reproduction produce after its kind. To live a prosperous, peaceful life of gracious contribution, we can't spend our efforts trying to be something or someone that we are not. How often have we fallen into that trap that we are one of a kind? You are one of a kind, and yet here you are trying to be someone else. If God made you to bear apples, bear the best apples you can produce. Don't envy the orange tree person because their fruits are more colorful or juicy than the ones you're producing. Honestly, I am lacking in so many departments, glaringly so. But I'm learning just by the grace and goodness of God, and by a process of elimination. And by elimination, I mean I'm eliminating the things that deplete my energies, eliminating the things that diminish my sense of self-worth, and actually magnifying in God and magnifying through Christ the things that God has placed in my hand. I may not be some big dude. I may not be kind of the poster boy. I may not be the one who's making all of the ripples in the marketplace, whatever else, whatever other things I might aspire to, like blah, 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 blah. The tiresome pursuit of something that is unattainable. And in this case, I mean, being someone that God never designed you to be is such a deep rooted discontent that many people chase their and waste their lives actually chasing. Instead of looking inwardly and spending our efforts to discover who we really are, what kind God has created me to be, it's very easy to expend all of that energy that could otherwise be spent creating, looking outwardly at all of the other trees in the forest, yeah? All of the other herbs and the bushes and the grasses, and lamenting why you are not like them. I want to tell you, precious, beloved child of the living God, the King's kid, you are one of a kind. No one else can take your place. And if you don't become unashamedly yourself, no one else can. The best thing that you can bring to the table and the greatest gift you can give to the world is yourself, your authentic self. Number 2, Genesis 1:14. God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years." And what stood out to me here was seasons. Now, life is seasonal, like the rhythms that God put in motion when He made the worlds. And knowing what season we are in really helps us to navigate that season with grace and humility. Because let's face it, man, some seasons are more difficult than others. Yeah, they're more strenuous than others. But when we yield to the hand of God and His shaping and His sharpening of our character through each one, we'll be very well prepared for the next. Fighting against the flow in any given season will really tire you out. And finding grace and proper pace with God's purpose in whatever season you're in can help to remove the friction that so often tires us out through the process. We don't want to be tired out. We don't want to be expended, exhausted. And, in every season, right down to moment by moment seasons, God can accomplish in an instant certain things. Other times it may take days, months, or even years. But in every one, there is something magnificent to discover in Him. Being aware of His immediate presence and what He wants to do right now, as well as His greater plans that often span decades, it gives grace to our heart to walk in a peaceful pace with Him in both the small things of life and the bigger aspirations and the bigger dreams that we carry. Don't be quick to judge His methods. God sees the end from the beginning, and what sometimes seems contrary right now, may well be the very circumstances that He uses to form your future success. I know for me, I'm in a season right now of quite a reflective season after a number of different and like disappointments is just personal disappointments, misplaced expectations that were unrealized, or whatever you want to. We've all got our own bag of troubles that we can pull out and put like spill the laundry out for everyone else to trawl through. But honestly, sometimes the hard seasons, sometimes the things that God doesn't give us, just as much a blessing as the ones that He does. And it's good to remember that and recognize that. There is no rush or hurry if we trust in God's provision for the season that we're in. Learn your lessons well. Be ready to let go graciously when one season comes to an end and a new one begins, because each season has its very own special riches and harvest to bestow in your character, in your life, sometimes maybe even in your bank account, in your relationships. Each season actually is generally pregnant with something very specific for a very clear, defined area of our lives. And if we will allow the master craftsman to do his work well, we will always come out of whatever season we are in a much better person and with a deeper, closer walk with that craftsman that I'm speaking of, the wonderful Holy Spirit. Number 3, greater and lesser lights. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. I love that, just as an aside, like, oh yeah, and I made the stars as well, by the way. Greater lights, lesser lights, and the stars also. And God set them to give light upon the earth, to divide the light from the darkness, and God saw that it was good. What this brought up to me was that comparison is not a great way to peaceful living. Greater lights, lesser lights, stars also, some big, some small, but all with the same glorious commission to give light to the earth and divide light from dark. I just want to encourage you to shine your light unashamedly in the very best way that you know how. Don't allow your sense of worth to be eclipsed by the sun of someone else's genius. One of the ways in which I'm letting my little light shine, whoop, whoop, is doing this podcast. Here I am, shining my little light and getting brighter every day in Jesus' name. And, see, God has commissioned you to fulfill his mandate and assignment, and it is good. You're not going to be judged on the light that he commanded someone else to shine. Yeah, he'll require an account for only your stewardship. Yeah, a stewardship of the gifts that he chose to entrust into your keeping, not those that he entrusted to someone else. Don't compare yourself. Don't feel lesser. Don't consider yourself greater. The sun doesn't shine with self-conscious rays. It just simply fulfills its nature. The moon doesn't reflect with a straining jealousy that it's not the sun. It rejoices in the sky and shows forth unparalleled beauty. There's nothing like it. Be who you are and settle into your orbit around the purposes of God with wholehearted commitment. Don't judge and measure yourself by all of the faulty metrics that the world is judging and measuring by. Honestly, it does not lead to peace. It does not lead to a place of rest and fulfillment and completion. You think that you want this or that, you want this amount of followers or this amount of money or whatever else it may be. You name it. Ka-ching, 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 tick the boxes. Once you get it, you'll discover that actually, that didn't quite satisfy the deep longing and ache of my heart, because the scriptures tell us that God has planted eternity in men's hearts, that he and he alone can satisfy. That aching, longing desire that resides within you, looking for significance, looking for whatever it is you're after. I tell you something, there's a place you will find satisfaction and delight and the fulfillment that you seek. But it's not going to be out there running around trying to find it. You're going to find that it already resides within you. The enthronement of Jesus in your life and heart. If I can give you any advice whatsoever, and this counts for personal advice, business advice, health advice, you name it, advice, learn the gentle, beautiful art and skill of waiting on the presence of God. Anyways, I digress. Number 4, blessed. Genesis 1:22, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. This is what God commanded all of nature to do. Fruitfulness and multiplication flow from blessing. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the things that the world is seeking by sweat will be added to your account by grace. No greater love or beauty exists than the wonderful presence of God in our lives. Don't multiply your efforts and then ask for his blessing on your own makings. Oftentimes that's what we do, isn't it? We make something and then kind of, all right, and by the way, God, could you bless this? Seek his blessing first. The blessing came first. Be fruitful, multiply, and then the fruitfulness followed. Seek his blessing first, the blessing of divine counsel, wisdom from his heart, compassion for others, and from that place of grace and fullness, go forth and multiply. And then finally, man, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this time in the book of Genesis. I'd not gone and dug this garden for a quite a long time, for probably a number of years, certainly not with any kind of keen intent. And I am just amazed at what I'm finding in there. So many rich things that the Lord wants to give us. In his image, God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." Genesis 1 verse 26. Let me say this again. I've said it before. God is not in a hurry. God is not nervous, anxious, fearful, or insecure. I've had times in my life and seasons in my life when that would have been a perfect description of the man that I was looking at in the mirror. God help me. I need to always come back to this remembrance. God is creative, playful, holy, and whole in himself, fully immersed in his perfect plan for humanity. And he pours himself out in endless abundance for the betterment of his creation. And I will like our Maker. In his image, after his likeness, a miracle made to make. Just as he brought forth wonders from his heart, so will you. It's your nature to produce. The invisible is made visible through your intervention. You're a conduit, and through the faith that's alive in your heart, hopes become substance and are then shared with the world. Such, my dear brother, sister, my creative Christian friends, is your DNA. Creative fruitfulness is your default. Greatness and beauty flow from your inner man with effortless intention, because you live from who you are, a child of the great Creator himself. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully it's been an encouragement to you today. If you want to connect any further, you can do so through my website at davidleemartin.com. Have a great day.